A young boy named Jacob is drawing a picture of a robot in his room. He and his younger brother, Cole, head to school together. On the way, Cole breaks his shoelace, so Jacob removes one of his own and gives it to him. Later, Jacob and his friend Danny exercise in the gym. Afterward, Danny sits with his girlfriend while Jacob sits alone. That night, Jacob and Danny practice music together. Danny asks if Jacob is going to ask May out. Jacob says maybe, adding that it is not as easy for him as it is for Danny. Later, during dinner with his parents, Jacob's father, George, asks if he plans to join the Loop, a particle accelerator located beneath the city, after graduation. Both of his parents work there. His mother, Loretta, tells him to think about what area he wants to pursue. Jacob says he does not know whether he wants to join the Loop or not. He says he wants to draw. George tells him that drawing is good as a hobby. Later, in their room, Cole and Jacob draw together, and Jacob sketches a picture of May. Cole goes to brush his teeth. The next morning, Danny is painting a building when Jacob arrives and asks if he wants a break. During the break, they discuss which power is better, being invisible or reading people's thoughts. Jacob says he would rather be invisible, because then he would not have to worry about what people think of him. Danny counters that if Jacob were invisible, people would simply say what they really think about him, because they would not know he was around. Jacob says that, in that case, he would stay away from people. Danny says he does not need to be invisible to do that. They walk through the woods and sword fight with tree branches. Soon, they come across a metal pod that looks like a sea mine. Danny approaches it, but Jacob tells him to be careful around a mine. Danny says it only looks like a mine and is not actually one. Jacob opens the door and sees that it is empty. Danny tells him to climb inside, and Jacob hesitantly gets in. Sometime later, Danny wakes up outside the pod. He gets up and starts calling Jacob's name. Jacob comes out of the pod, and they both realize they have switched bodies. Jacob is now in Danny's body, while Danny is in Jacob's. Jacob panics and starts shouting for help. Danny tells him to climb back inside the pod and says everything will be fine, but Jacob refuses. Danny says he will go back in instead. He enters the pod, and they return to their own bodies. Danny is amazed by the pod's abilities. He tells Jacob that the pod is not going anywhere and that the process is reversible. He suggests that they try living each other's lives, just for a day. Jacob is hesitant, but he eventually agrees and gets back inside the pod. Danny becomes Jacob, and Jacob becomes Danny. They race each other, and Jacob wins because Danny does not have enough stamina in Jacob's body. They look in the mirror and marvel at the transformation. Russ arrives and greets the two boys. Jacob tells Danny that Russ is his grandfather and asks Danny to keep him out of trouble at home. When Jacob asks what he should do, Danny tells him to keep painting the barn. While Jacob is painting, Danny's girlfriend arrives. She takes his hand and leads him inside the building, telling him that her father sometimes plays music there. The two kiss. Later that night, Jacob goes to Danny's house. At home, Danny's mother asks him about his day, and he says it was fine. He takes a shower and is amazed by his new body. During dinner, Danny's mother asks if he finished the barn. She then asks if he has considered Uncle Henry's offer. He says no. She tells him that she knows he wants to work at the Loop, but his grades are not good enough. She says he has to be realistic because he does not have the same options as his friend Jacob. She tells him he should work at the quarry. Later, in his room, Jacob finds Danny's pet spider on the bed. He uses some paper to put it back in its enclosure. Then he hears Danny's parents arguing. Danny's father does not want to force him to work at the quarry, or push him into something he is not interested in. The next morning, Danny's father wakes him up, saying he slept in late, and drives him to school. At school, Jacob and Danny talk about their previous day. Jacob asks if they should switch back now, but Danny says he wants to do it for one more day. Jacob tells him that his mother wants to know if he will work at the quarry. Danny says he does not want to spend the rest of his life crushing rocks. He tells Jacob to say no when she asks again. After school, while painting the barn, Jacob notices Danny walking with May. He follows them and sees Danny kissing her. Furious, he throws his ladder down. He goes to Jacob's house and meets Danny in his room. He tells Danny that he knows about him and May and wants to switch back. Danny says he knows Jacob likes her, and that is why he did it for him. Jacob says that if Danny really did it for him, then they should switch back now. He says he wants to be himself again. Danny says he does not. He wants to work at the Loop, but he knows he will never be able to do that as Danny. As Jacob, however, he believes he will easily get a job there because Jacob's grandfather runs it. The two get into a fight, and Jacob's father arrives and breaks it up. He tells Danny to go back home. Angry, Jacob walks to the pod and gets inside it alone. That night, Cole asks Danny, who is still pretending to be Jacob, how to draw a car. Danny tries, but he is not as skilled as the real Jacob. Jacob's father arrives and asks if he knows where Danny is. Danny denies knowing. After his father leaves, Danny looks at all of real Jacob's drawings, including one of May. The next morning, Danny does not show up to school. After class, Danny's girlfriend asks Jacob if he has seen Danny. He says Danny will be fine. Later, he meets May and shows her the drawing real Jacob made of her, claiming he drew it himself. Afterward, he goes into the woods to look for the real Jacob and finds Danny's comatose body inside the pod. At the hospital, Danny's father asks what Danny was doing out there, but Jacob denies knowing anything. Danny's mother tells him that Danny looked up to him. Jacob says he feels terrible about what happened. Danny's girlfriend arrives and hugs Jacob while crying. Jacob goes back into the woods and finds workers dismantling the pod. He then goes to Danny's house and finds it locked, so he climbs in through the window. He sits on the bed and plays guitar. Afterward, he takes the pet spider with him. Later, he finishes painting the barn. At dinner, Loretta asks fake Jacob if he has thought about what he wants to do after graduation. To both of his parents' surprise, he says he wants to start working at the Loop. His father is happy and tells him that he can keep drawing as a hobby. Jacob says he does not like to draw anymore. When he looks sad, Loretta asks what is wrong. He says he misses his friend. Unable to sleep that night, he looks outside and notices something. He goes out with a flashlight and finds a robot. He calls out for Jacob, and the robot responds. The episode ends with the fake Jacob, standing and watching, while the real Jacob, now in the robot's body, runs away. Like, and subscribe the channel, for more videos like these.